English anyways. Okay. All right. So why don't you tell us your name and kind of you're a missionary or whatever, and then tell us your story of how God brought you to Japan. And you look at me.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Hirtabo. I'm a missionary working here in Tokyo with Pastor Makoto Fukuda in starting a church planting movement. I'm working here in the middle of this great city, and I haven't always been a missionary. I actually studied this city when I studied as an architect and urban designer. I worked for several years in the capacity of an urban designer in Amsterdam before coming to Japan. I'm still working on the city, building a great city, but in a different way now, on a spiritual way. And Tokyo is one of the cities that very much need the gospel and the church as the bringer of the gospel to renew the city. So I'm not designing with my pen in the city, but by bringing the gospel and helping this church planting movement, I'm trying to renew this great city.
And then tell us how did God bring you to Japan? How did that happen for you personally? So what were your thoughts and your thought process?
As a Christian, after I graduated from university and building my family, I really felt a burden for bringing the gospel to other people. First in my hometown, back in the Netherlands, but gradually the desire grew to bring the treasure that I found in Christ to other people. And my wife and I really were open to going anywhere where God called us. And in an interesting way, we found out about the church in Japan, how small it is, how it's struggling to survive, how few Christians there are, less than 1%, only about 0.2% of Christians going to a Bible-believing evangelical church every week. And that really started us praying both for Japan and asking God whether He had a plan for us in Japan. And God opened doors, and here we are. We've been in Japan for about 8 years now, and still feeling this incredible need and confirmation that we're needed here to support a Japanese church in reaching out to the 127 million Japanese, of whom over 99% have never really directly heard the gospel of Jesus Christ.
That's great. Tell us about your family a little bit.
We live in this city. Actually, we live on the 51st floor of a high-rise apartment building here in downtown Tokyo. With the 7 of us, my wife and I, we have 5 children, ranging between 12 and 1. We had twins as the last 2. And we are really enjoying living in the city. We love the city, and our kids love the city. It's tough at times, but it's a great place to live with everything we need, and it's really a privilege to be here as a family.
Good. Cool. All right, now tell us about community groups. Tell us what your position is, in leadership in the church, and then give us a glimpse into how community groups work and all that.
In Grace City Church Tokyo, I'm especially responsible for community formation, building up this new young community in the middle of the city, both by connecting with new people who haven't heard of Christ and equipping Christians really with the gospel. Part of our vision is to be a church of community groups, not a church that has community groups, but really build on this foundation of community groups. Like the early church, where they gathered both in a temple and people's houses, we really strongly believe in small groups, especially as the church grows, and we long to see the church grow. It's necessary for pastoral care, for really growing to understand the gospel and what it means in community, to have those smaller units. And therefore, it's a basic ministry of Grace City Church Tokyo. We gather here in the city, really in the place where people work and spend most of their times. Because of cultural issues, we usually gather in a cafe like a Starbucks, and usually at the time that people can make it straight from work, around 7:30 or 8 o'clock on a Wednesday or Thursday or Friday night. People come straight from work, eat something together. We do intentionally take time, like an hour, to really just catch up at the week and listen to each other, encourage each other, and then we have about an hour or so a Bible study where we go through the same passage that was preached on Sunday, and really through the questions that we prepare as the church leadership, that people go through the gospel, that they apply it to their own work situation, to their personal life, their relationships, and that they go through the gospel in a sense that they, when they meet God and see His mercy, His greatness, that they acknowledge their weaknesses, their failures, but at the same time, going through the passage, that they see that God is a God of grace, and that He loves us and forgives us, and through it we're renewed and are called to go out into the city to be His witnesses, His messengers in the workplace, to see our job as our ministry, and that's very much our vision for these community groups. They're all open. We believe in every aspect of our church to be evangelistic. So also our community groups are places where both Christians deepen their faith and their dependence on Christ, and for people that do not believe yet to discover Christ and their need for Him, for them to need Christ for their identity, for really having peace and the happiness that people pursue in the city.
That's good. Tell us a little about leadership, how that works, how you develop leaders.
In order for Grace City Church Stokey to grow, we need many leaders. As the leadership team, as pastor and missionaries, there's only so much we can do, and we really see it as a calling to equip lay leaders to be initially community group leaders, but also to be leaders in the larger community, in the city. In order to equip those leaders, we have a leader training program where all the leaders of the community groups gather once a month, where they are themselves equipped with the gospel, where we try to really go deep and discovering our own idols and our sinful patterns that need to be addressed with the gospel, and in that way prepare those leaders to be effective facilitators of their groups. We have a special leader training program of several weeks where they go through the basics of gospel-based leadership, but also very practical issues about how to guide a group. And our vision is obviously not to just raise community group leaders, but that they'll grow further in leadership, both within the church, and that they apply it into their everyday life and their workplace, and really being leaders driven by the gospel, changed by the gospel in the city.
Great. All right, and we'll do your last question.